let me ask you, Cecilie, because we heard from the previous panel, they're still quite worried about the US, they're worried about Europe, they're more optimistic about Asia. How do you see the global recovery that we're seeing right now? Are you very concerned? And how are you seeing the recovery in shipping, which is very uneven? Yeah.
Actually, we're more optimistic about the US. As you know, they're all hardworking people and very adaptable and flexible. And it seems to recover quicker than other economies. Apart from that, I'd say in Europe, like the strongest growth prospects, probably Germany.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree to Cecilie's take there, but the large growth will be in the Asian countries and probably in Africa further down the road.
Thomas?
I think what US have always proven to be pretty good in adjusting themselves. And I think one of the big questions will be how much of a consumer-driven economy will countries like China become, rather than an export country. So when they now start to build their own wealth, I'm sure that, of course, the number of internal consumers will increase quite significantly. And that, of course, will change shipping quite dramatically, because you might start to get further cross trades, more, say, Europe, Asia, as you will see in the automotive industry now, with luxury brands from Germany, of course, being in great demand in Asia and in China. And of course, this could also be the way with other type of products. And luxury goods are probably leading the way on that side.
That's a very interesting point you're making, because, of course, China's unveiled this 5-year plan. And in that 5-year plan, they really want to move much more to a domestic consumption. And that will play very heavily on shipping. Your perspective on that, Saravana?
I think China has a lot of promise, but somebody made a point that it is in the interest of China that they build as many ships as possible. And I think it's a very valid point. The media might have overblown it a little bit, but there's no telling that China would like to see the freight rates come down. And yes, China has single-handedly changed some of the industry segments. For instance, if you take into account dry bulk, if China sneezes, a lot of the countries would get a cold, but if China sneezes, shipping would go into pneumonia. So it has a disproportionate effect on whatever that we do in shipping. But thankfully, it's not the case with every segment. There are segments that are independent of China. For instance, if you look at the product tanker market, you need the US to come back online. A lot of the new buildings that were ordered the past few years have been built upon the story of ton-mile demand increasing in the Middle East and out of India, but that hasn't really happened the way that we thought. So just a caveat on all these assumptions, on these GDP growth and everything else, you always have to fall back on what worked before. So we need the US, we need China to continue to grow the way it is, to have any amount of optimism in shipping. Africa and India and all the other countries would be nice surprises. But I think we still need the good stalwarts to sort of lead the way for the shipping markets to recover.
Leon, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, somebody was telling me that right now they are building 95 airports in China. And if you want to fly from Shanghai to Beijing, you can't find a seat. So people are traveling a lot, they're consuming a lot of energy, and right now the oil consumption per capita in China is at 2.5 barrels per annum, while in the US is at 25 barrels per annum.
But how concerned are you that as China continues to develop their own shipping business, and in fact, this could in many ways undermine your own business, especially, let's say, in tankers or dry bulk?
I think that would just be an add-on to the ordinary business that we have, and it will expand our potential to do business with them as well. It would be more combinations. I'm not worried that they will take over. It will be an add-on.
Cecile?
Yeah, I think again it's more on the demand side, not on the supply side.
Okay.